Colorado's a dynamic market.
Colorado's growing so rapidly.
Hotbed of innovation, of economic activity, and just a celebration of life.
We got involved in Johnstown through a development partner. We bought the property in the summer of 2017 for $3 million, so about 27 cents a square foot, which is a ridiculously low price.
So the strategy here from an investment standpoint is quietly enter an area, but then invest as deeply as we can before the rest of the market figures out what's going on.
Part of the story of northern Colorado is one of concentric circles. You've got Fort Collins to the northwest, you've got Loveland south of Fort Collins, and then due east of Loveland, you've got the community of Greeley in Weld County. These areas are all growing from the inside out, and what's happening is they're growing together. So the two biggest trade routes in northern Colorado are I-25 running north and south, and 34 running east and west. These two highways have the largest amount of vehicular travel in the region. They're the two main trade routes. I-25 is over 100,000 vehicles a day. 34 is over 60,000 vehicles a day. And Caliber's holdings in this region are strategically located along those key corridors near that primary interchange.
The bigger the projects we do and the more that we bring here, kind of the more clout we have with the town. And I think that just builds on itself as far as being able to, work our relationships and build a really quality community for Johnstown as well as our investors. Know the mayor, know the council. It's a very friendly relationship. It's wonderful to be working with a town that's so pro-growth. Develop these projects out and we provide the infrastructure. The dollars we'll get 2 years from now are going to be substantially higher.
Caliber is not just focused on pulling 10 houses out of the ground. They're really talking about creating communities, creating places for families to be, creating places for business to thrive. We're always excited when an organization thinks bigger and not just about that piece on the corner, but a larger perspective that really adds to the whole.
Year over year, the pending home sales index in northern Colorado is up 96%. What amounts to roughly 500,000 people today is going to be over 600,000 with professional demographer estimates by 2025.
So this project, the size of it is just really amazing. It's going to be fun watching it all come to fruition.
Johnstown is on a trajectory to really become a family center for northern Colorado.
There's been tremendous property appreciation in the region over time, and I just see that accelerating going forward.
It's really a dynamic area. We're truthfully just building a small city, and it's really exciting to be a part of.
This morning we're talking Colorado, and we're really excited to do so. Let me introduce Jake Howlauer from NAI Horizon. He's our local expert and has been working with Roy intimately on a lot of these deals. And then obviously my cousin Roy Bade here, the best looking of all the Bades. He's a Taurus and likes pina coladas, if any of you are interested. Anyway, we want to do a deep dive on Colorado and let you know, from that video, you guys all get a sense of what's going on there. So when you think of those of you that are from Phoenix or from other parts of the country, path of progress and being kind of right in the way and seeing parts of the city that, that are here, that everything is developing and growing in, think this area. And I think that first video kind of gave you a sense of that, but we're going to show you a lot more about that. And Jake's going to help us understand a little bit more about what's going on in that area. Jake, dive in here anytime that you want. We touched a little bit about it on the video, but this is sort of geographically, you can kind of see where Denver relates to Johnstown, Loveland, and Greeley in that area. But Jake, you want to kind of fill in the blanks here and tell us a little bit more about, what's going on up in that area and sort of, things that people should know?
Absolutely, Tom. I'd be happy to. Well, thanks to everyone for having me, and thanks to Caliber and everybody that put this on. And we feel very fortunate to work with Caliber in the region. I've been working that market for about 14 years now, lived up there for 18 years. I grew up in Colorado Springs and moved up and have never left. That's part of the story of northern Colorado. The in-migration is tremendous. It has been for a long time, and that's ramped up during COVID and kind of coming out of it, where people are moving away from big cities and they want a little bit more recreation. The region, and Ryan said it in the video, my business partner, but really what I would explain it as is it's really a tri-city region with those tri-cities all growing together. They're all growing outwards, which Fort Collins is growing southeast, Loveland's growing out to the east for the most part, Greeley's growing kind of every which way, and Johnstown's right in the middle of everything. And one thing that's interesting to me, it's a 2-county area as well. There's Larimer and Weld counties. And Johnstown is one of a couple municipalities that lies in both. And so, part of Johnstown's in Larimer County and part is in Weld. And what I see in the region is, generally speaking, the counties or the cities or towns that are in both Weld and Larimer County are much more pro-growth. They're much easier to get entitlements, and it's something where they're the beneficiaries of all this growth because they have the housing, or they have, the will to have that housing, and everything else kind of falls in place, beyond that. Traditionally, retail follows rooftops. That model still works, and if you don't have the rooftops, you're not going to get the retail. Retail sales tax is very important to the region because that's generally how you fund municipal services in Colorado. So that's really what every municipality wants, but not all the municipalities understand how to get that. And Johnstown really does. Johnstown's proactive. Roy obviously has had a great relationship with many different officials at Johnstown, but he and I have spent time with the town manager a number of times out at ICSC, talking to retailers and things like that. But the support that they provide for the developers in their community, and especially Caliber, because Caliber is such an important developer in their community, is really second to none in the region.
It's kind of interesting that I've been around this business for a long time, and different municipalities handle it differently. We're the big dog in Johnstown. We're the biggest developer there. And you were talking about ICSC, not only in December, but just a couple of weeks ago. We were invited by the town of Johnstown to meet with them and go out to ICSC, which is a retail convention that basically all the retailers are at, and they're trying to promote their products. We had 9 meetings on Monday, and the town of Johnstown was there with us. So we had the vice mayor, we had another councilman, we had the city manager, and the economic development lead. And so it's pretty nice when you're able to actually have the town support you in what your goals are. And I've been in a lot of non-growth areas. I think it's fair to say Fort Collins, Boulder,
absolutely,
a little bit of Loveland.
Yep.
They're non-growth areas. They don't want the growth. Johnstown wants the growth, and
absolutely,
they want the tax dollars. And one of the interesting things about Johnstown and the projects that we have there is that this I-25 corridor. I mean, it goes, I believe, all the way from Mexico into Canada.
It's the only interstate that runs all the way from Mexico to Canada.
There you are. See, that's when we got them here. So, and we're right on that corridor. And what you want to do is, if you can follow like government spending, that's normally a good path to growth. And they're expanding this I-25 corridor. There's a 14-mile stretch starting at the intersection of our property and going north all the way into Fort Collins. And then they have another 10-mile stretch that they just added last year. So we've got a 24-mile stretch of interstate that they're widening out. And so that just promotes growth along the way.
Thanks, Roy. So if you guys are looking at that map up there, it's kind of hard to see, but you see that West Ridge and North Ridge up there? That I-25 one's right through the middle of it. You can kind of see the little interstate symbol there. And if you guys haven't been up there and seen that area, it is, I mean, there's traffic on it all the time. And again, think areas where they're trying to develop freeways as fast as they can, and that's this particular area. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about we originally started with the Ridge, and then we did North Ridge, and then we did South Ridge, and then we did Encore, and now we're going to do West Ridge. Do you want to kind of tie all those together and sort of say why, other than just the growth, how those came about? And again, we're going to dive into those guys each individually here in a little bit, but as we got them all on a map, I kind of wanted to give you a little background on sort of how the dominoes fell.
Well, I think it was opportunity. I mean, the reality is that when we bought the Ridge, it was 256 acres, and we bought it for 27 cents a square foot. So again, going and looking at I-25, think about the volume that's on the 101 corridor, right? So we have over 100,000 cars a day coming up I-25. Not a bad idea to have some property right on that area, right on that frontage. And as we bought that property, we were having so many retailers, so much single family home builders, so much multifamily home builders wanting our site that we grew into Northridge, right? So what, we have we'll get into a deeper dive, as you said, but we sold the corner off at the Ridge for $22 a square foot for a C-store. Well, there were 5 C-stores that wanted the corner, so we went to Northridge because we could sell another one. So we sold a C-store there as well. And then
C-store being convenience store, 7-Eleven, Maverick, Circle K.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. And then Jake and Ryan and his team introduced us to Encore, which is another 188 acres or so, 188 acres, plus we got another 100 acres that's a partner of ours along the way that's right beside us. This is Highway 34, and Highway 34 has 60,000 cars, and it's really the best intersection in all of northern Colorado. You want to talk about 34 for just a second?
Absolutely, Roy. Yeah, 34 is nearly as important to the northern Colorado region as I-25. Rocky Mountain National Park is an Estes Park to the west of Loveland. There's about 4.5 million visitors in 2021. And of those, about 70% of those took the 34 route. That's about 3.1 million tourists that, generally speaking, are mostly coming up, I-25, or could be coming south on I-25, but they're going on US 34. So that's a very key intersection for tourism, but it's also a key intersection for the region in terms of commerce. The main transportation route for, trucking. And right at that intersection, we've been involved in the 2534 project, about a 550 acre master plan. I worked on that my entire career. And I think that's a really interesting dynamic there because that 550 acre master plan got going in basically the mid 2000s. Of course, the Great Recession didn't help any land absorption for many people and certainly didn't there. But as things got going again in about 2014, they've absorbed nearly 450 acres. I mean, we've got about 35 left for the master developers there. And so I think that really tells the story of how tremendous that intersection is and how much demand there is to be in close proximity to that. But most of the sites are gone. And so Encore, to me, is a tremendous opportunity for Caliber, to roll into, the next project in that area and capture some of that demand that's spilling over from that key intersection of 34 and I-25.
We'll take a deeper dive on Encore in a moment, but so we bought the Ridge, bought Northridge. You guys introduced us to Encore. It had been on the market for quite a while. The sellers of that property cut the price in half right after COVID. Yeah. We have over 1.1 miles of frontage on Highway 34. We bought it for $1 a square foot. I mean, it's a ridiculously, compared to, say, the same type of frontage on the 101, which will go for $22 a square foot. So opportunistic purchase.
I'll be totally honest with you. I told those sellers of that land, we were agents for them, and I just said, hey, I don't think you need to reduce the price by that much. I think it's worth more than that. And they said, we've owned it for a long time. We've all done very well. We're all getting a little bit older. We just like to take our money. We don't need to squeeze every last drop out of it, which again, to Roy's point, I think created a great opportunity for Caliber.
It did, and so we moved from there to Southridge. Why did we want Southridge? Well, we had a buyer for it already. Journey Homes, who is the big dog in that in northern Colorado, they build more homes than anybody. They said, if you buy it and plat it, we'll buy it from you. It's like, well, that seemed like a pretty good deal, Tom. And lastly, over here at Westridge, it's another 135 acres. We've had that in escrow for about 6 months, and we've got almost every piece of it sold. So why buy it? Because we've already got it flipped.
There you go. And where does John Denver live? Did I just date myself on that one? Come on. Nobody knows Rocky Mountain High? Come on. Yeah. Okay, these are some headlines that just sort of, again, give you a little bit of flavor on what's going on up there. What is it? Now, this one's called the Silicon Mountain, or whichever one of the high tech in the area. But one of the ones that caught my eye on this one was over the last 3 years, U.S. News and World Report has ranked Colorado as the nation's #1 economy. And I would sort of throw, again, the Phoenix, Arizonas, the Austin, Texas, Salt Lake, those kind of areas there as well, as far as growing the economy, but it's also lifestyle, which was Jake was talking about. So a lot of people are going there. But, again, there's, as they were saying, there's not always friendly governments in certain pockets of it who don't want the development, but there's a lot going on there growth-wise. Jake, you want to dive in here and just talk about some of the, give an overview of some of the demographics, employers, whatever else that we think we need to know?
You bet, I'd be happy to. Some of the most major employers in the region are going to be the universities. So Colorado State University is about a 35,000 student university at this point, and they have, I believe, about 8,500 faculty and staff. UC Health is a really large health system. They acquired Poudre Valley Health System, which was basically the Northern Colorado kind of main health system other than one banner hospital in Greeley for a number of years. They acquired that. They've been growing like crazy. I used to call it a cold war between Banner and UC Health. It's a full-on active war now. You see one build a new hospital here. The one puts an urgent care or freestanding ER to try to outposition them. Then the other one starts to do that too. So tremendous amount of medical employment growth in the region. And a lot of that's tied to, it being a really attractive place for people to retire. And that's something that, we didn't see a lot of, when I came to town 18 years ago. And that's ramped up over the last decade or so. And I think there's a number of reasons for that. It is the quality of life. But I think it's more than that. It's, the universities like Colorado State and the University of Northern Colorado in Greeley, which about 15,000 students and a pretty healthy faculty there as well. People move to the region for school, like myself, like one of Roy's daughters. They stay, they don't want to leave if they can find jobs. And so what we have going for us is more recently, we have those jobs, and we have the medical jobs, we have the tech jobs, we have, the kind of what I'll call institutional jobs. Fort Collins is the county seat for Larimer County. Greeley is the county seat for Weld County. So you've got a lot of government employment there. So there's just a tremendous amount of diversity in the economy as well in Northern Colorado. And it's been amazing to watch it grow. Growing up in Colorado Springs, I contrast it with that. And, Colorado Springs, from my perspective, basically just grew from west to east forever with not a whole lot of thought or planning. Whereas Northern Colorado, each municipality has been really thoughtful in their, plan for their growth and their comprehensive plan. But they've also more recently collaborated regionally. And I think they've started to realize that if you have a great tech employer that's going to bring, call it 200 jobs to town, high-paying engineering jobs, other development jobs. It doesn't really matter whether it locates in Johnstown or in Loveland or in Windsor. You just want those jobs in your region, and people are going to live and work and move throughout the region because it is a regional dynamic. And so I think that's been a really interesting development in about the last, I'd call it decade, where they started to kind of get away from the infighting and go, well, we want that, employer. And so we're going to incentivize it way, far more than the next municipality. And, in a lot of cases, their municipalities just say, you know what, you can take that one. We don't want them bad enough to throw a huge incentive package at them, because we know we'll benefit if they land in Northern Colorado, period. And, if Johnstown is going to get more aggressive for that employer, or Loveland's going to get more aggressive for that one, that's fine. They're all going to be jobs in the region.
Jake, you want to tell us a little bit about it? Roy and I stole your thunder a little bit yesterday in the CEF thing, but about that one big home development, that build out you're talking about? Yeah,
so this is a tremendous, dynamic in the market. So Rain Dance is from Encore. Encore's eastern edge is the county line. So it's County Road 13, Colorado Boulevard. And if you go straight up from there and you hit Crossroads Boulevard, which is just an intersection, an interchange, I should say, north of 34, you're going to run into Rain Dance. And Rain Dance is 2,800 home community. That master developer there, I heard him, say recently in kind of a very intimate setting with 10 or 12 of us. He said, yeah, we pro forma a 15-year build out, and it's built out in 4. So that's 2,800 new homes that were built in 4 years in one subdivision in Windsor, which is, a Johnstown adjacent community. And I think that really tells the region, the region's growth story. The next is Kinston, and that's right at I-25 and 34 as well. And that's a McWhinney project. They're a large developer in the region within about a 3,000 acre master plan. They're under construction on the infrastructure. They've already got the clubhouse in. I think they have 6 or 8 builders committed. That's another 2,800 homes. And I'd be really surprised if that's not built out in another, about 5 years from now. So, people want to be there. And frankly, we don't have the housing for them. And we've seen rents go through the roof on apartments. We've seen, home price appreciation. Last year it was 18% year over year. So we need more homes in the region, and employers obviously need those employees in the region who want to continue to locate there.
Now we're going to dive into our first project, the Ridge. Talk a little bit about it. We touched a bit about it yesterday in the CDOF piece, but
So we're just entering the southwest corner of the Ridge. We've seen a great deal of multifamily enter the market. It's a very new community surrounded by agricultural and water. So it's a beautiful place to have these parks and all the amenities that the Ridge does have. Beyond the clump of trees down here, that's all our industrial piece. So we've got a ton of industrial, roughly 30 acres. This is where future County Road 3 will be. What we've done is just provide fire access to the back of our property. We have some retail users that are in and more that will be coming, padding out some of the retail areas. We have medical, we have office. 14 acres just past that on this side of the freeway, that's our commercial piece. We already have a C-store in there. Quick Trip is already taking a location there. We're going to add a 30,000 square foot retail, and then along where those homes are down there on this side, we also have another road and we have some more back office. It's really a dynamic area. We're truthfully just building a small city, and it's really exciting to be part of.
Roy, you want to dive in and talk a little bit about the Ridge?
I started in the business in '84, and this is the funnest thing I've ever done in my career. So it's one of my children, if you will. It's a fun project, and thanks for throwing out the fact that my daughter just graduated up there. She graduated from Colorado, University of Colorado, and now she's staying in the region, much like your story, Jake, where people go up there, they go to school, and then they stay. The Ridge here, if we look at the lower right-hand corner, you've got 288 single-family homes that are ready to go. We're actually closing on our first 18 lots with Aspen View Homes the middle of this month. So the streets are in, the sewer, the water, the storm, curbs, gutters, sidewalks. That project's ready to go. And we've got 288 homes with D.R. Horton having 80. We have Aspen View that's got 126, and Bridgewater that's got 82. That's about $28 million worth of home sales there. So it's a big asset for that area. In the middle of the screen, if you will, it says under contract. That's a project that we have in contract with Journey Homes, 420 unit apartment complex. Directly to the left of that, we have another 360 unit apartment complex by Buckingham. In the upper corner of the Ridge, we've got a C-store up there. It's Quick Trip. Again, they paid $22 a square foot. By the way, we bought this property again at 27 cents a square foot. So it's a great area. We also gave away a spot for a fire station that's along the Big Hollow Gulch there, which is the green belt in the middle. But we didn't give it away. Actually, what happened is that we traded the land for waiving the fees in the area for all the fire assessment fees that they do. So Caliber and J25 in particular, which is the owner of this piece, will get those fees instead of the fire department. So that land we gave away will earn us about $1.2 million as we develop this project out. So we've got an industrial piece in the middle here, more retail on the corner along I-25, likely office, medical in the middle, and then some back office in the other areas. So really wonderful property, 256 acres. The Big Hollow Gulch down the middle is going to be a great amenity for the entire community, because what we're doing there is it's a green belt that we spent, I think about 3 years trying to get the Corps of Engineers not to call it wetlands, because it doesn't look really good right now. But once we took the wetlands designation away from it, we're able to kind of grade it out, have a lake system there, water in particular in northern Colorado. You wouldn't think of that it would be difficult to obtain, but it is. So we'll have a 22 acre foot lake on that piece. And so exciting property.
Yeah, and if any of you guys are thinking, oh, Caliber's destroying wetlands, that area before the wetlands, it was called Stinky Creek, okay? And it was filled with like horse manure and things like that. So there's not a bunch of tears being shed that we're, cleaning that thing up. Also, if you want to look, again, we're talking about Ridge 1, which is everything encompassed by the blue part. If you'll note the retail on the top, that's sort of by that thing, keep that one in the back of your head, because we're going to talk about that later as far as one of our Caliber development opportunities we're going vertical on. And one of the things I'd also point out, and kudos to Roy and the team for coming up with this, but when you come down that, if you're going north on that I-25 and you exit that freeway, you see how the freeway thing goes. You can kind of see between the retail where it says future office and retail, that line that goes through the middle of that's the road. And so by making that sweep out, instead of think of our freeways here a lot of times where they come right along the freeway, we actually created more frontage on both sides, right? And then that big retail that's right along the 25, I'm not kidding you. When you're on the freeway, you dip down about where that South Ridge thing is, and you start coming up in your car. And it's like McDonald's is like the temple on the hill when it goes up there. It's just right there. I mean, the visibility on that piece is tremendous. So anyway, by creating that, we've created a lot of value for the investors because we doubled the amount of retail space.
We did, and it was a gift by CDOT. They basically came in and asked to have that road put in. We were willing to give them the road for free, but they offered us about $750,000. And if they were like, well, if they're going to offer us that, then it's worth $900,000. And so we ended up settling for $842,000. So they paid us to put their own roadway through and divide our property. I mean, it was quite the win.
Yeah. So anyway, we're going to talk about the South Ridge, which is the piece right below that, which is pre-sold.
So this is 80 acres that we call South Ridge. It's as far as the eye can see before getting to I-25 that way. So off of County Road 3E. It's 80 acres. We're purchasing two 40-acre parcels.
One of the things that's enticing about South Ridge specifically is our market is so undersupplied with new single-family lots. There's much more demand than we have supply for.
Interestingly, Journey Homes is a group that is already planning on doing 260 homes on this site. So it's really a great extension off of what we already have at the Ridge and North Ridge, and excited to work with Journey Homes on it.
Hey, Roy, one of the things that I think is interesting about South Ridge, and just a little nugget, is we talk about 260 homes, but they actually, you told me, have it approved for 320. Do you want to sort of tell what we get for the more homes we get on that lot?
Yeah, so we had to go through and annex this property in, and then we had to plat it as well. And so we did the whole design review process and everything else that needed to happen in order for Journey Homes to be able to develop this out. We got it approved for 400 lots, not 260, which was a major accomplishment. And it's one of the reasons that we get along so well with the town council. They're quite willing to help us out in this process. Journey Homes, because of they still need 25% open space. It's hard to get 400 lots on there, but they're going to do 320. Well, the difference between 260 and 320, you might think that doesn't matter, but the way we wrote the contract with Journey Homes is that for every additional lot above 260 that they get, we get another $14,250. So by zoning it correctly and them platting it correctly, we pick up another $800,000-900,000. So it was a good day in the zoning process.
North Ridge. Now, this is one that we did a note offering on, this is the north, just directly of the Ridge one. So this is the northeast corner of that same freeway intersection.
Welcome to our North Ridge project. We are having such success at the Ridge itself. We had a lot of other retail users that wanted to be there that we weren't able to accommodate. So we bought this particular piece. That 59 acres is largely spoken for already. So we have 23 acres that our friends at Oakwood Homes and Todd Bloom, they're developing a community of about 200 homes on 23 acres. Corner, they have a C-store, and they also have retail that they're planning on their 6 acres. Across from there, Caliber's going to be doing a 10-acre industrial park.
Most of the growth that is occurring in northern Colorado is really between Fort Collins and Johnstown, and this is right in the heart of that.
We're excited to bring that project to the market and then also provide these great returns to the investors in Northridge.
It's a great project, 59 acres. We've already sold off the Oakwood Homes piece, and so what we do with the proceeds, we have $4.5 million. They paid us about $3.5 today. When we finish off the infrastructure, we'll get the other $1 million. But that paid off our entire debt on the north part of this project. We bought the northern part of Northridge. It's 35 acres for about $4.5 million. But we also got in that sell, we got about $1.5 million in water rights. And so we're into the land for about $3 million. We sold a piece of it off for $4.5 million. The other side of that, we have Massimino. They're an apartment building company, and they're looking at about 300 units of apartments there. We're under contract on that. The lower right-hand portion of this, it says industrial and commercial. Caliber is actually going to be developing a project there. It's an industrial project, 98,000 square feet, 3 buildings, kind of retail frontage. It's going to be a great location, a great opportunity for investors to jump into this vertical construction versus a horizontal. And then we're working with United Properties. They have Mavericks. They have which is another C-store, gas station, convenience store, and then they also have Starbucks there. They're also in an LOI with us right now. We're negotiating the purchase contract for the other roughly 5 acres to the north of them. They want to do some higher density multifamily and then another pad there. The only part of this 59 acres that isn't spoken for in one way or the other is what kind of the middle of this. It says retail. We've got about 6 acres that's left over there, but it's quite the win for the investors that are in that property. You can start expecting returns at about this time next year. The returns should be coming back to you on that.
Thanks, Ray. This is just some of we talked about this a little bit in the CDOF meeting yesterday, but this is some of the sales that have already occurred kind of in that area. We just talked about some of them already on the Ridge and Northridge. Is there anything you want to add on this one, Roy? Or
no, I think the story is that we have an 80-acre piece, we had a 256-acre piece, we've got a 59-acre piece, and the majority of those are spoken for. And so once we complete the infrastructure, those sales are all going to happen, and the investors that are invested in these properties will start seeing the returns at that point.
Thank you. This is the newest acquisition yet, which we haven't done really anything with, but do you want to touch on Westridge, Roy?
Sure. So, we've had a lot of success at this intersection. So why not go to the other side of the freeway? And so this is the northwest corner of I-25 and County Road 402. It's 135 acres. Slopes gradually to the north. To the north, there's a big lake. You're looking at the Front Range if you're a home builder out there. To the west, it's absolutely gorgeous piece of property. It's basically all spoken for except for a 7-acre corner of retail, which we'll probably do another C-store on, and then some other retail in the area, add some other maybe spec retail or pads in that along it. But we've got 30 acres spoken for industrial. We've got a single family user for about 55 acres, and they're going to be kind of an upscale single family community. So these aren't going to be your smaller homes that are typical in the marketplace. These are going to be nice, kind of more luxury lots. We've got single family for rent that we have an LOI on as well, and then we have a multifamily developer. So this will be an opportunity for the investors to get into a project that's already largely spoken for. This one has already been annexed in. It already has an ODP on it, and so this is going to happen faster than the other projects that we had to annex and do the zoning on. But another exciting piece that we're just adding to our portfolio.
And the thing that's nice about that piece, just like on the Ridge 1, where it's kind of, you got a great visibility on it going north on Ridge 1. This one, you got great visibility on it going south, going the other way. So there, like I said, the retail corner on that should be fantastic. Now we're going to watch a video on Encore.
We're approaching our Encore site. Encore is another exciting project. So located on Highway 34, about a mile west of the interchange at I-25.
Encore fronts Highway 34 on the north side, which will involve coordination with CDOT.
So as we're driving through here and thinking, wow, this sounds like a long ways, we're still only halfway through the project. We'll have 186 acres, much of which is already spoken for. And we believe that once we put our infrastructure in, the prices that we're going to be able to gather from our Encore project will actually increase.
Now, one of the things, Roy, you mentioned to me that's nice about this Encore one is that all the utilities are actually all the way to the property.
Yeah, and that's different than most of the Ridge projects. We had to bring utilities and roads and everything to the other projects. This one's kind of dialed up and ready to go. Couple exceptions to that. Jake, you want to talk real quick about the Kingston community? You mentioned it earlier.
I'd be happy to. Yeah. So off to the west there of Encore, you see that Kingston community that McWhinney's developing again. And, about 2,800 homes or so at full build out. A number of those may be in apartments. McWhinney's been a vertical apartment developer as well as a land developer. Again, the clubhouse is already open, looks beautiful. Talk about sitting up on a hill. I mean, you come up, and into that area and you see it, kind of a beacon up on the hill, and it's excellent. Again, I believe they have 6 or 8, different builders committed. So, I expect that project again to probably be like a 5-ish year build out. Similar to that Rain Dance project, again, up that where you see Larimer County Road 1 on the map. That was one I was talking about up at Crossroads Boulevard. That's about 2,800 homes that built out in 4 years with a 15-year pro forma. So I'd really expect that Kinston goes along that line. And actually, from my perspective, Kinston's a better location. So I think it's going to be tremendous right there. And that's going to create, obviously a lot of demand for additional services in the area, which we hope to capture their Encore.
Yeah, so the region that this is around is incredibly impressive. Go ahead and go back to that other one, Tom. So if you're looking to the left side of this, you have 750,000 square feet of outdoor mall. It's just a beautiful mall. Think of the Promenade or something along those lines. It's really a great product. To the south and west of our property is the one Jake's been working on for about 15 years now. It's a 500-acre, already built-out community. To the south of what we're doing, they have what's called Iron Horse. It's a great industrial project. And then we have all this single family that's coming in around us. So we have 1.1 miles of frontage from County Road 3 to County Road 13. We bought for $1 a square foot again, and that's unheard of, guys. It's an unbelievably low number. So the part in orange here that's to the thanks. It says under contract in this one. It's a 50-acre Catholic high school. So it's kind of our anchor. We gave them a good price. We bought it for 75 cents a square foot up in that corner there. We're selling to them for about $4 a square foot, but we figure they're an anchor for us. They actually are going to support a lot of the retail that's going to come into this project. So major improvements to County Road 13 that's on the right-hand side. We'll be doing a decel lane, XL lane on Highway 34 so we have that middle spine road. And then likely the only new intersection on Highway 34 for maybe dozens of years, because it's incredibly hard to do. Where County Road 3 is right now is on the left side of this project, and there's a railroad track that comes through, and so they never allowed, CDOT didn't allow for a signalized intersection there because they're worried about the backing up of the train and the traffic if there's a train coming through. So we proposed moving it 1/8 of a mile to the east. 2 years later, they agreed to that. And so now we have a new signalized intersection that we'll be installing that will be probably the hottest retail in that region, because a signalized intersection on 34 is really an amazing accomplishment. So we'll be having retail on either side of that. We haven't really taken this to market. When you and I went to ICSC recently, we started proposing, the different users this project. We had no less than 3 master plan builders that wanted to take this over. We met with all of them, with the town of Johnstown. We have United Properties wants the entire frontage to the on the lower right-hand corner here. They wanted all of that for industrial. We're going to give them a piece of it probably, but we want that center road to be retail. Exciting project, and it's another opportunity for our investors. We're in our second round of construction documents right now, which means we'll probably get a permit in the next 3 months or so to start doing the horizontal infrastructure. At that point, we'll be going back to our investors and asking for some help with the construction loan for the horizontal, for the horizontal development of this. But it's really an exciting project.
So where the intersection you're talking about is right there between parcel H and parcel G, that little line down there.
Don't make me put my glasses on.
That's okay. It's the one. It's just that.
Yeah.
I think that's. You showed it to me before. Okay.
Yeah, it is.
I got you. Okay.
Maybe add just a little more context to Roy's comment about the new intersection on 34 and how rare that is. Again, I've been working the market for 14 years. I believe the only intersection that I've ever seen added with a signal on 34 is actually at the east side of Encore in my 14-year career. The reason for that CDOT has an access control plan that runs all the way from Estes Park, again, Rocky Mountain National Park, out, further than Greeley on the east. And it is, it's a holy grail to them. They do not amend it. They do not deal with anybody that wants another access point almost ever. So it's a huge win. And kudos to Roy and his team for getting that win.
We actually had 3 different counties and 7 different cities have to approve that intersection along with CDOT. So it was, and most of the hierarchy at CDOT actually lives in Greeley. And so what they want is the cleanest path to I-25 that they can. So they never allow this type of thing to happen. So it was quite the success.
Roy, do you want to touch a little bit on what we've spent and the way that we're recouping some of that from the cities and states and whatnot through the Metro Improvement Districts?
Yeah, so I've been a developer here since '84, guys, and I've had to pay for every street, curb, gutter as a developer in every town I've worked with, every state I've worked with in Metro Phoenix area. In some areas of Colorado, not everybody allows this, but Johnstown does. You have what's called metro districts, and what metro districts do is they allow for an additional property tax to be put on both commercial and residential pieces. And what you do with that property tax, if you're able to put it in a metro district, is you bond over it. And what you can use with that bond is public infrastructure. So any road, curb, gutter, landscaping that's alongside there, sewer, storm, water, you're able to recapture some of your costs there. In all of Encore, which has a metro district, and all of the Ridge, which is also in a metro district, we're able to recapture some of the public infrastructure dollars. It's incredibly important. So we'll spend on these projects overall in the neighborhood of about $100 million putting in horizontal infrastructure. We'll probably be able to recapture half of that through the metro district bonds. So it's just another profit center for our investors along the way that we're able to facilitate the return on their investment by having these metro districts. And they're not easy to get. It happens that we just have a great relationship with Johnstown. They've allowed us to do it, and you have to play the game correctly. You don't want to add so much tax that all of a sudden the triple nets for our retailers or for the home buyers, their property taxes go so high that it's a detriment. But we're right at the sweet spot. We've used basically Ryan's and Jake's analysis as far as where we can take those property taxes, and we've stopped there. So we haven't taken them as high as we could. Matter of fact, in most of the cases, we're able to apply what's called 50 mills, and we're only charging 20 mills because we're trying to stay competitive, but it is a way to recapture some of the money on the infrastructure.
I've been impressed with Roy and Caliber, how they think about the metro districts, because candidly, a lot of developers, they ramp up that mill levy as high as they can, and they say, we're gonna get all we can out of this metro district and we'll worry about the rest later. And it does make it challenging because it's gonna impact your land value, when you sell to that end user or that vertical developer, but it's gonna also impact, to Roy's point, the triple nets, especially for retail users. And there are places in the region where I've seen, just the triple net expenses, not the base rent, $20, $25 per square foot. Base rent on something like that might be $30 to $40 per square foot. So you're talking $60, $70. I mean, you need to sell a lot of sandwiches and burritos to be able to pay that kind of rent, right? So when you don't think about those things on the front end, you get caught on the back end, and your base rent is going to be suppressed forevermore. Yeah. So it's really, it's important to think about that, and Roy and Caliber are very thoughtful with that.
And again, which affects your future sale price on a building you want to go vertical on, or, a loan you're going to get, because they're always looking at that NOI, always. Yep. Speaking of that, all the way along, we've been talking about, hey, everybody thinks it's such a great area. They're going to build throw up houses. These guys are doing this and that. Well, Caliber's kind of like said, well, if those guys are doing it, maybe there's some ways that, since we bought it for 27 cents a square foot, there's some opportunities that we can go vertical on some things. So these are some things that we'll be talking about later today in our upcoming pipeline meeting. But because they're in Johnstown, we want to touch on them for a minute here as well. Roy, you want to touch on this one? Yeah. And I'm sorry. And this is on, I don't want to go back to that map, but this is on the east side of the exit ramp on Ridge 1, right?
Yeah, this is Ridge 1. It's right across from the Quick Trip, so it's the hard corner. We're doing a roughly 30,000 square foot retail center there. It will be spec at this point, but we have enough rooftops coming in. We've got this whole area around the Ridge, we've got almost, between multifamily and single family, close to 3,000 new rooftops, and this is in addition to the communities that are already there. So there is no retail service there currently. We're excited to build this, and we'll be bringing this out in the next probably three to 4 months for our investors.
All right, and and again, think nail salon, dry cleaner, pizza place, all right there.
Well, the drive-throughs are really an important part of this market, and you can get generally about $28 a square foot for standard retail. But if you've got a drive-through, we're actually talking about splitting this building in the middle, so we get two different drive-throughs, because they garnish about $40 a square foot triple net. Is that right?
Plus. Yeah, 40 plus. 40 plus. And I'll tell you, I mean, if you look at this trade area as I define it, going up to about 34, maybe even Crossroads Boulevard, one interchange north of 34. I mean, the shop retail, vacancy is probably less than 1%. I mean, there's hardly anything that you could actually go into. There's one drive-through opportunity available in the entire region right now. One, and it's in Northwest Loveland. Mm-hmm. So it's very hard to find these opportunities.
I'm not sure I want to be in Northwest Loveland. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's available for a reason.
Okay. All right. And then in the Northridge project, we're looking to do an industrial building. There's going to be 3 separate buildings there because it's kind of an odd shaped. It's a little bit triangular, but great retail frontage. And so what we envision here is still 100-foot bays, 26 feet to the roof. So a standard industrial building with retail frontage. And this is another project, looks very good on paper, and an opportunity for our investors to be part of Johnstown.
Yeah, like you guys know, if anybody, like if you drive along the Loop 101 on the west side of town, like kind of between Thunderbird, like kind of just south of the stadiums, kind of where the Ride Now motorcycles is and stuff like that. And then if you go a little further south on Peoria, you see like all that stuff right along the freeway where they got the retail in the front and then they got storage in the back. It's like Mac Companies has done a bunch of that here. It's like that. So it's not like, big trucks rolling up kind of thing. It's businesses that need that, again, part repair shop in the back or something like that, or, bike shop or something, those kind of things.
Yeah, industrial in the area. I'll let you speak to it, Jake. But the vacancy is incredibly low.
It is, and there's been a tremendous amount of demand for that new industrial area, both, the heavier distribution with the growing population and obviously what COVID did to supply chains and trying to figure out that last mile delivery, but also for the little bit smaller bay opportunities, there aren't many of them. So we're working on about 300,000 feet, one interchange north, and that's all what I'd consider, again, heavy distribution. And we have, groups that are coming along saying we need 10,000 feet, we need 15 or 20, maybe even 25. And we're saying, we don't really have a place for you, right? Because we're looking for the 50, 100,000 foot user at that project. And there's just no place for those users from, call it 10 to 25,000 feet. So I'd expect the demand on this project is going to be very strong.
We're going to do something fairly unique on this. And generally in these industrial buildings, you break them up into 15 to 25,000 square foot bays. We're actually going to break these down into 5,000 square foot bays. And we may get a 30 or 40,000 square foot user and just put them in, a multiple 5,000 square foot bays, but there won't be an interior wall per se, but we're going to divide it up so that we can actually have a smaller retail type of tenant be in these projects. And we've even considered doing condoizing this. And so that's not something that's we've done yet, but it'll be unique to that market if we do.
And kind of back to the retail rents in the region, the triple nets on retail, I'm seeing users that traditionally probably would not have gone into a project like this. They're retail users, but they're looking for a better economic situation on their rent and their occupancy, right? So now they're looking at things like this, and this is maybe a bad example when you're talking 5,000 feet because it would be a pretty large use like this, but a hair salon, right? They've traditionally gone into that Class A retail center, but now, the rent's, $60 per square foot. Again, you have to be cutting a lot of people's hair to pay that kind of rent. Well, if you can come down here, you can get a little better deal on the base rent. I say little, much better deal on the base rent, but also your triple net expenses are going to be lower because they're going to categorize this as like a flex industrial project versus a retail project. But the dynamics of the site and the product that Caliber is going to build will function for some of those retail users.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.